Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I want to thank the committee, the ranking member, minority ranking member, for indulging me and letting me be a part of this today. Thank you, Mr. Director, for being here. You know, Congress expressed its concern, Mr. Director, during the omnibus proceedings last year with what was passed into law. Expressed concern that OSMRE is not working with important state partners in an effective manner, and that they should re-engage, that your department should re-engage with the states in a meaningful manner before finalizing the rule. And to achieve the best possible outcome, I want to quote from the law that was passed and signed by the President. OSMRE is directed, not asked, not requested, directed, to provide the states with all, not some, but all, technical reports, data analyses, comments received, and drafts relative to the environmental reviews, draft and final environmental impact statements, and meet with any state, not all at once, but any state, with primacy during such process at the request of the state. I've read the letters that you've sent to, your department has sent to IMCC. I think I've got that right. Let me double check here. Relative to how you intend to comply with the rule. And I've also, or to, I'm sorry, to ODNR. And I've also read IMCC's letter back to OSM telling you how that does not comply with the law in their interpretation. And I certainly don't see that it complies with the law either. So let me ask you, you recently testified that rather than publish the state's comments, that they are likely to provide you at the individual meetings that you are required by law to hold on the requested documents in their entirety after they are reviewed by the states, that you would instead publish only summaries of the state's comments for the public to see. Why will you not make the state's comments publicly available in their entirety for everybody to see?
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. And by the way, it's good to see you again. Welcome back to the hearing. And next time you see Bob Murray, tell him I send my regards as well.
I will certainly do that.
I appreciate that. In regards to the directive that was included in the omnibus bill, the public comment period has closed.
No, I'm not asking you that. I didn't ask you about the public comment period. I asked you why you will not publish the state's comments in their entirety.
Because
That's
the
a simple question.
Because the public comment period has closed.
But Congress reopened that. Congress reopened that in its direction to you, Mr. Pisarcik. Further, you said at the Interior Appropriations hearing that you would not reopen the public comment period for the proposed stream buffer zone rule. So will you offer the states a chance to offer meaningful consultation on the materials once they're provided? Because that's what the law provided. That's what the law said.
What the directive...
That's a yes or no. I know what the directive said. It said that you were directed to allow the states to provide meaningful input. So are you going to receive that meaningful input from the states?
If the states choose to provide it, we have offered to meet with them, and
I'll take that as a yes.
We'll be offering to meet with them again.
Will you consider making changes to the final rule based on the input that you receive from the states, that meaningful input after they have reviewed the materials?
We have received meaningful input from the states, and we will be considering that.
You're going to get some more meaningful input because the states have already told you they're going to give you that. So will you make any changes to the final rule based on that meaningful input from the states?
If we receive input that is appropriate.
Great. Then I assume that you'll reopen the public comment period after that time, as the Administrative Procedure Act requires federal agencies to reopen any comment period if substantive changes are made to a final rule based on comments received after the close of the public comment period. So I'm glad that you're planning to do that, Mr. Pisarcik. And Mr. Chairman, and my time has expired, and again I want to thank you for letting me be here today. Congress made it very, very clear that they have major concerns about the way this rule was put together, the way that OSMRE has conducted the rulemaking process, and leaving states out of the mix. The states want to provide meaningful input. They deserve a right to provide meaningful input. Mr. Chairman, I'm going to suggest that if OSMRE doesn't start complying with the law, I'm going to be a strong advocate to make sure that the Authorizing Committee and the Appropriations Committee withhold funding to OSMRE until they do decide to comply with the will of the people, not the will of the President and not the will of Mr. Pisarcik. With that, I yield back.